Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the KitchenAid mixer lift arm. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new lift arm. The lift arm is part of the mechanism that raises and lowers the bowl on the mixer. The main reason to be changing it out is if it's damaged and the bowl isn't going up or down. In order to change the part, we have to open up the mixer. We're going to take off the accessories just to get them out of the way. You want to make sure the bowl is in the down position. And then we can reach in and take off the beater. All you have to do is lift up on it, turn it clockwise, and then let it drop down. You can pull it out. To get the bowl up, we're just going to lift it off the mounting pegs and pull it out. Now we're around at the back of the mixer. We're going to use a Phillips screwdriver to take out the screw that holds the trim on. Once you have the screw out, you can pull the trim off and set it aside. With the trim out of the way, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to take out the 4 screws that hold the cover on. There's 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. Once you have all 4 screws out, you can lift the cover off and set it aside. Now that we have the cover off, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to take out the 2 screws that hold the speed control board in place. Once you have both screws out, we're going to lift the board up and out of the way. We have to use a small flathead screwdriver to release the tabs that hold the little sensor in. Just have to press on each side and get them to release. Once you have both tabs released, you can pull the sensor out of the motor, and then we can swing the speed control out of the way. If your mixer has the old transmission housing like ours does, the manufacturer recommends that you upgrade it to the metal housing because it's stronger. We're not going to show you in this video because that part has its own video. We're going to use a Phillips screwdriver to take out the 4 screws that hold the transmission cover down. Once you have all the screws out, we can lift the transmission housing off. Now we can disconnect the motor wires from the speed control board. There's 2 black wires that come off the motor. On my left, this one goes to motor 1, and the one on the right goes to motor 2. They may be on there a little tight, so you can use a small needle nose pliers to help get them off. Once you have them both disconnected, they may be tangled up a little bit. We're just going to untangle them, get the wires aside. Once you have the wires untangled, you can set it down, and then we can use a Phillips screwdriver to take out the screws that hold the motor to the lower housing. Once you have both screws out, we can carefully lift the motor out and set it aside. Now that we have the motor out of the way, we have to take out the 3 screws that hold the lower housing to the stand. We're going to use a large number 3 Phillips bit with a ratchet. These are on there pretty tight, so you have to break these free. You may have to hold the mixer. As you're taking the last screw out, you want to make sure you hold on to the lower housing. And you're going to have to set this aside so that the grease doesn't drain out. So just find something to support it against. Once you have the last screw out, you just carefully lift it up and set it aside. Now that we have the lower housing set aside, we're going to flip the mixer over so we can remove the base. Once you have it flipped over, we can use the same number 3 Phillips bit with the ratchet to take out the big screws. Once you have the last screw out, you can hold on to the stand and set it down. And then we can pull the base out and set it aside. Now we're going to turn the stand assembly over and put it in the up position. Once you have it in the up position, there's a little C-clip that we have to take off the shaft right here. It's pretty small, so make sure you don't lose it. We're just going to use a small flathead screwdriver to help pop it off. If it falls down inside, you can lift the stand up and shake it out. Once you shake the C-clip out, you can pick it up and set it aside. With the C-clip off, we can take this bar out of the lift arm. Just going to use a small flathead screwdriver to push it over. Once you have it out, this may fall down through the inside. If it does, we can put it in later. Otherwise, just leave it. Once you have the bar out, we're going to look at the lift arm. Some models had a roll pin like ours. Other ones had a Phillips screw that holds that in. So you want to look at your Phillips screw and you want to turn it in whatever position is going to give you access to the Phillips screw head to take out the screw. So we're going to use a roll pin punch and a hammer to take out the roll pin. Once you have the roll pin or the screw out, you can grab the stand and shake it to get it to come out. If the lift arm bar falls out too, you can grab them both and set them aside. Now we can pull out the bar that the lift arm sits on. You don't have to pull it out all the way. Just pull it out so it's out to this point right here. And once it's free, you can pull the lift arm out. Here's the old lift arm next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. If your lift bar was binding up like ours, you can always pull it out all the way and then put a little bit of the grease in each section where the bar sits. That'll help it ride smoother. Once you have the grease in there, we can put the lift bar back in. Once you have the lift bar through, you can wipe off any excess that came through. And then we can put the lift arm on. Now you want to put this on with the lift bar like this. This is where the bowl would sit, but we want to make sure that the arm is down. And then the lift arm is going to go in also in the down position. And then you can push it all the way through so we can line up the hole. You can either put in the screw or the roll pin. Same thing with the opening in the other side. If you have any excess grease, you can clean that up. Once you have it cleaned up, we're going to put the roll pin back in. We're going to use a hammer and the punch again to tap it into place. Once you have the roll pin centered, we can put the arm back in. Now we're going to turn the stand over. And you can see that opening down inside there. We have to put the arm through there. So we're just going to carefully feed it through the opening. Once you have the bar in there, we're going to hold it in place along with the slide mechanism. And then we're going to turn the stand over. And then we can see inside there. We're going to reach down and grab the bar and then lift up on this whole assembly so the whole thing comes into the up position. And you can turn the bar and at the same time lift up on the lift bar so we can turn the lift arm and line it up. You're not going to lift it all the way into the up position, right about here. And then that'll allow you to push it in. Once you have it in place, we can grab the needle nose pliers and put the C-clip on. Once you have the C-clip on, you can grab a small flathead screwdriver and push it on so you know it's on all the way and locked on. Once you have the C-clip on, you can kind of lift up on the stand a little bit, and we just want to make sure that it works properly. So you want to make sure it goes all the way to the down position, and then it locks all the way in the up position. Once you're sure you have everything put together right, we can put the mixer back together. To put the mixer back together, we're going to carefully turn the stand over so we can put the base on. Once you have it turned over, you just have to line up the base and set it in position. And we're just going to put the 3 screws in. Since we're holding it right now, we're just going to tighten these down real quick with a Phillips screwdriver. Then we can come back with the ratchet and the number 3 Phillips bit to tighten them down. You want to make sure you get a good torque on these. These have to be pretty tight. If you don't get them tight, the whole mixer is going to shake apart. Once you have the screws tightened down, we can grab a hold of the base and turn the assembly over. Now that we have the mixer back on its base, we can put the lower housing back on. To put the lower housing on, we're just going to set it in place. And same as we did with the base, we're just going to use a regular Phillips head screwdriver to put these screws in and tighten them down real quick. Once you have them tightened down, we can grab the ratchet with the number 3 Phillips bit, and we can make sure we get them nice and tight. Once you have them tightened down, we can put the motor back in. We're just going to set it into place and let the shaft drop down in the front. Once you have the motor in place, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in to hold it down. When you're putting the motor back in, you want to make sure that you use your thumb and just push forward on the motor a little bit so the motor shaft seal sits up against the housing. Now that we have the motor in place, we can put the housing back on. All you have to do is line it up and flip it over. Once you have it lined up, you can push it down into place. If it won't go down all the way, you may have to turn this little hub attachment right here so it lines up with the beveled gear. Once you have it in place, we can use a Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in to hold it down. Once you have the housing back on, we can remount the speed control board. We're just going to lift it up and plug in the sensor. It can only go one way. Just make sure it clips into the motor and stays in place. Once you have it there, we can rotate the board over and line it up with the screw holes. Once you have it in place, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Once you have the speed control back in place, we can put the cover back on the mixer. Just going to line it up and set it down in place. Once you have it in place, we can use a Phillips screwdriver to put in the 4 screws. Now that we have the cover back on, we can put the trim ring on. We're just going to set it in place, and we can go around back and use the Phillips screwdriver to put the screw in to hold it on. Once you have the trim ring on, we can put the bowl back on. To put the bowl back on, we're just going to line up the pins on each side. Once you have it in place, you can push down on the back to snap it in. Once you have it in place, we can put the beater back on. To put the beater back in, we're just gonna line it up on the shaft and make sure the pin goes into the cutout and lift it up into place. Turn it counterclockwise to lock it on. Once you have it in place, we can plug the mixer back in and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.